Welcome to East Alabama Today, featuring topics, events, and interesting people from all over East Alabama. Hosted by Carl Brady. Now, let's get right to the show. Here's Carl Brady.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into East Alabama Today. I'm Carl Brady. Thanks for being with us on today's program. As always, we'll start our show off with some contact information so you can get in touch with us if you have an idea for our show. We would love to hear from you. Fairs, festivals, special events, things that are going on around the community. We always want to know what's happening, and you guys are our eyes and ears out on the street, and let us know what's going on in your community. And the best way to do that is to send me an email, cbrady@tv24.tv. And what we need you to do is just send me the email, send me the information, the dates, contact information, those kind of things. Let me know what's going on. And you might find yourself as a guest here on the program to talk about that special event. Now, we're always also looking for writers, artists, musicians, folks who have odd or interesting hobbies. Well, if you know someone like that, send me their information as well, and they might end up as a guest on the show. We're always looking for the interesting people who live in East Alabama and Northeast Alabama and anywhere in the state, as a matter of fact. So send me that information via email, cbrady@tv24.tv. And don't forget to go to our website, tv24.tv, to see on-demand versions of East Alabama Today. If you happen to miss it over the air, then you can always go back and watch it on your computer. Go to tv24.tv, click on the On-Demand tab, and then go down and click on East Alabama Today, and you'll see a whole series of East Alabama Today shows that you can check out right there at your convenience whenever you want to watch them. So check that out at tv24.tv. We'll be back in just a moment with today's show, so stay with us.
Baker Piano and Music Company, in our 53rd year of service to you. Baker Piano and Music continues its tradition of excellent service and affordable prices. Baker stocks a wide variety of new and used upright and grand pianos. Find a large selection of electronic keyboards, guitars, and amps. Also take piano and guitar lessons. Baker Piano and Music, 211 Broad Street in downtown Gadsden. Call 256-546-4038. Find us on Facebook or visit GeraldBakerMusic.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back into East Alabama Today. As I mentioned in the opening segment, we're always looking for interesting people to interview, folks who are writers, authors, musicians, those kind of things. And we have a writer with us today from right here in the area, from Collinsville, Alabama. It's Glen Burke. Glen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. And it was good to hear from you and get a chance to read your latest work called Jesse, and we'll talk a little bit more detail about the book Jesse and how folks can get that. And you got another project coming up soon as well. But let's get to know Glen Burke a little bit. You're a native of Fort Payne, live in Collinsville. So,
well, I was born in Fort Payne, and I've always lived in Collinsville.
Oh, okay. So. Born at the hospital there.
At the hospital, right.
At the hospital in Fort Payne.
Nearest hospital.
Yeah. Okay. Well, talk a little bit about Glen Burke. Give us some background. Let us know.
Well, I'm an old country boy. I still live on the family farm that I was born on 56 years ago. And we don't do agriculture anymore, and we sort of got forced out of business with the economy and everything. And I went to college, got a degree, so I could come to work on the farm and do everything I was doing on the farm, but a little smarter, I reckon. So after the farm went away, so to speak, I got into real estate and then insurance, estate planning, and various other things, and I don't really like any of it, so I started writing, and I'm hopefully, I can make a go with that. That's what I'd really like to do.
Yeah. Now, how did you discover that desire to write or the love of writing? And then your daughter made this suggestion at one point?
I got fired from a real estate job.
Oh, wow.
And I'm one of the few people that actually did what they got fired for. Everybody's always got some excuse. They didn't actually do it, but I actually did it. And I got fired, and I was so depressed. I was sitting at home, and I was talking to my daughter, and I was, asking her, what can I do? And I said, I've already got a degree. I don't really need to go back to school, even though that's the only thing I was actually good at and I like doing. And she said, well, why don't you write? And I said, I can't even make out a grocery list.
Yeah.
How in the world am I going to write anything? She said, well, I don't know, try it anyway. So I got to thinking about it, and I just sat down. I thought up a story and just sat down and wrote it. And in 2010, I wrote it. And I didn't actually show it to anybody in 2011. And then I didn't actually try to get it published till 2012, sending out all the endless queries to agents.
Right. Is that the story that ended up to be Jesse?
Yes.
It is,
It
wow.
is. And my daughter, who is an English teacher at Santa Rock High School, let her advanced English department read it.
Yeah.
With a pseudonym name, a pen name. They didn't know who wrote it.
Right.
And it was the commentaries on the book that she required that they write every day that give me the impetus to get it published. And I attached those comments. And after about a year of sending queries, I sent it to an agent, to a literary agent, and she sent me a 6-word comment back, 6 words. It said, love it, exclamation point, love it, exclamation point, love it, exclamation point. And 5 minutes later, I got an email with an attachment. It had a literary contract to it. And I downloaded it, and I was so shaky. It was like I signed my name. All I hunted was just a place to sign my name. I didn't read a word of it.
Right.
I just saw where you sign, and I signed it like a 90-year-old man with Parkinson's disease. It's just like this, literally.
Yeah.
And I sent it to her, and she sent me a okay email back, and 5 minutes later she called me.
Wow.
And just in case she was going to nail me on the, hey, what's with the signature? I was going to answer the phone like, hello.
Right.
Why are you calling me on the telephone?
Well, that's quite a story because many writers spend years and years and years getting rejection notices, and rejection letters, one after the other, and then end up self-publishing instead of actually having a real publisher. So
Everybody encouraged me not to do that. They said, because if you self-publish, you'll only get noticed locally. And to be honest with you, I've never actually known anybody that self-published anything that actually sold a bunch of books. And everybody encouraged me, don't do it, keep plugging. And I'd query for a while and quit, get discouraged like everybody and quit, and query for a while and quit. And then finally I hit upon that one. And it wasn't 2 weeks after I signed the literary contract, here come a publishing contract, and the same thing again. I signed it shakily. I just found the place where I signed and sent it back to them. I still hadn't read all the contract.
Well, that's stepping out on a lot of faith there, not reading the contract.
Hey, listen, I was...
This whole thing has been an exercise of faith,
Well,
too.
I wanted to hurry up and get it signed before they changed their mind.
Yeah. Talk about, once you signed the contract and once you had a publisher, did the manuscript undergo any changes? Did they require a bunch of changes?
Yes.
Like that?
I had no idea until I started this process what would be involved. First of all, it goes to the executive editor, and he's the guy that whacks it, chops it up. And he cut out, and it was long. It was a long manuscript. It's still 130,000 words.
It's still a long book.
It's still a long book, but they cut out 30,000 words.
Wow.
Yeah, I get long-winded, as you can tell here in just a minute when I get cranked up. But anyway, but then it goes to a line editor, and it's the line editor where you spend months, literally, going through this thing. Every comma, every period, every word change, you have to okay it and go over it and over it, and every date has to be checked out. And I put a bunch of dates in here, and all of them had to be checked out. It took months and months to get this thing finally done, and we had to, it was going to be published February the 1st, 2014. Then it got moved back till May, and then it got moved back to June the 1st, which happened to be my birthday, which was fine with me.
Yeah.
So it got pushed back, but it's because of all the editing involved in it.
And it makes a difference, though. I have read your book. You sent me a copy of it. I've read it, and I read a lot of books by a lot of local authors, and so many of them that are self-published. Their brother or their sister or their grandma did their editing, and there's so many grammatical mistakes, periods in wrong places, commas in wrong places, all those things that a publisher helps you take care of to get it right.
Exactly. You think you can pick them all out, or you think if you let enough buddies read it, they can pick them all out. They can't.
Right.
They can't.
These professional editors know what they're doing.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
The only way. And I would suggest that if you're going to self-publish, spend the money and get it professionally edited first. Because you think you got them all out, you hadn't.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let's take a commercial break right here. And when we come back, we're going to talk specifically about the book, tell you a little bit about what's going on with a book called Jesse by Glen Allen Burke. And we'll be back in just a moment. Hang with us.
Baker Piano and Music Company, in our 53rd year of service to you. Baker Piano and Music continues its tradition of excellent service and affordable prices. Baker stocks a wide variety of new and used upright and grand pianos. Find a large selection of electronic keyboards, guitars, and amps. Also take piano and guitar lessons. Baker Piano and Music, 211 Broad Street in downtown Gadsden. Call 256-546-4038. Find us on Facebook or visit GeraldBakerMusic.com.
Welcome back into East Alabama today. Our guest is Glen Allen Burke, a local author who has just recently released a book called Jesse. And you can find it at all the online booksellers, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, booksamillion.com. You can get downloads for your Nook or your Kindle, or you can actually buy a hard copy version and have it sent to you. And I'm sure there's some local stores that may have copies of it as well.
You can email me and I'll hand deliver it to you.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get them out there, right? Absolutely. Well, like I said, I've read the book and I really enjoyed it. It's an interesting theme to the book. And where did the idea for the book Jesse come from? And it does have a Christian theme to it. And talk about all of that.
I like to write Christian-based books, but not for a Christian audience. As you notice, the language is kind of salty. And it actually took a little while for you to catch on that, wait a minute, this is a Christian-based theology here that we're talking in this book. And it was meant to be that way. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people tell me they get halfway through before they have that V8 moment and go, I got it. You know, but that's what I meant it to be, you know.
Where did the idea of the character Jesse come from? And the whole thing set in the 60s, the civil rights era and that kind of thing?
Well, I was watching Sports Center one day, and they were interviewing this famous baseball player, and I asked him, you know, what was the most influential thing that happened to you to make you the athlete you are? And he thought for a minute, and he said, you know, when I was a kid, I waited in line to get this, I believe it was Joe DiMaggio's autograph. And the guy said, but when he got there, he wrote on his ball, finally, when he got up there, he wrote on the ball, someday you're going to be great. Well, he didn't realize that he was writing that on everybody's baseball. He thought he literally meant that. He knew that
there was a special message for him.
Exactly. So he set the baseball where he could see it every day on his desk in his room, and he said that was the most influential thing when he was a little kid. And I got to thinking, you know, we really need to be careful what we say to little kids, because we don't really know who they're going to grow up to be. And that was the impetus for Jesse. And I got to thinking about this really poor kid that was in our class when we started to school. I mean, he wore girls' clothing to school sometimes because he was so poor and they never fit, and he was just awful. And everybody made fun of him, including me. I jumped in that pile, too. And that gave me the impetus to vision Jesse. And I started to work on it, and it just flowed just like that, and it was the most fun I've ever had writing that book. Wow. You know, Stephen King said that if a writer doesn't enjoy or have fun writing, the reader won't either.
That's right.
And the reader should enjoy mine because I enjoyed writing it. I really did.
Well, you combine things that that here in the South we are all familiar with: civil rights issues, football, with the University of Alabama touch thrown in there, and religious issues, all and the struggles of both sides, the white kids during integration, the black kids during the integration, and having black players on the football team in high school for the first time, and the challenges that the entire community faced.
Well, all that actually happened at this little school that I went to. It wasn't just Rulon like it is in the book. It was Collinsville it was based on, but for the most part, it all actually happened. And the reverend part in there, the guy, the kid that was telling a story about his grand, he called him.
Right.
I got that off a tape of a civil rights guy that actually done the Selma March in 1964 off his conversation he's having on a tape, and I was writing his biography, which was another thing I got into.
Well, I wanted to mention that too, yeah.
I was writing biographies, 7-minute biographies that were to be recorded in a studio, and you played them on a tombstone. But I wrote a lot of the biographies, and they sent me these tapes to listen to, and I got that story, listened to that tape, and that guy actually talked just like that guy that I wrote about. I hope I captured the way he spoke, and everything.
You did. It's a very visual book. You do a good job of capturing the imagery and seeing the characters in your head while you read the book.
I appreciate that. That's what I meant to do.
Yeah. Now, one thing I noticed too is, I mentioned the University of Alabama connection in there. Coach Paul Bear Bryant was a character in the book at one point, and you seem to capture him very well as well. Did you have personal experience with him, or how did you capture him?
My high school football coach played football under Coach Bryant.
Yeah.
And that's how that evolved. I never actually got to meet him.
Right.
But I just, he was just like a fixture in my house, So I got that in the devotional. I actually knew that beforehand. That was he actually carried that around with him for many years in his pocket.
Wow. You've had some good reviews of this book, not just from the kids at Sandrock High School, but from other people around the country. Talk about the reviews and the response you got.
A guy named Monty Ross, you don't know the name, but you'll know who he is. He was the producer of Spike Lee's movies Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X. Well, he read it and wrote some wonderful things about it, and one of them was powerful. Glen Burke gets it, and I was so impressed with it that they put it on the cover of the book. And another guy was the former editor of Ebony magazine, and he wrote some really nice things about it. And there was a former editor of New York Times and the Sporting News that wrote some really nice things about it too. And that comes from having a publicist right there.
Right, and having the publishing company behind you.
Yes, absolutely. And that's another thing about better than self-publishing. I would advise anybody, if you can hang on just long enough and keep on querying, because you never know when the right person's going to read it. And I just think it's better to have a national publishing company behind you than self-publishing. Now, if you have to go that route, don't just grow old waiting to get your book published. But if you can hang in there long enough, who knows?
Talk about the book you're working on right now. You've got another one getting ready to come out soon. Yeah,
it's called Gabe, and it's also a Christian-based book, but not for a Christian audience. And it's about, essentially, it's a pregnancy that goes terribly wrong. It's based on Genesis chapter 6. And if you're trying to rack your brain trying to figure out what that said, I'll give you a hint. It said, and there were giants on the earth in those days and after, men of renown, heroes of old.
Yeah.
And you can read a little bit more about it. And that's what this book is about. It's about one of those creatures that it talks about that's being born in present day. It's because of the thereafter and after. So that's what this book is about.
So that's just enough of a teaser to make people
want to give it away.
Yeah, we need to. When are you expecting that one to come?
My agent tells me that when they get the numbers in from Jesse will be when the next book is, obviously they want Jesse to sell first before they go ahead with another one. So that's why I'm out selling Jesse now. I always thought that when you wrote a book and it got published, you were going to be rich, you buy an island and you have a hula girl.
Yeah, that's only if you're famous.
Exactly.
And they give you a $10 million advance for a book you haven't even written yet.
I just want everybody to know, as of this taping, I don't have the island or the hula girl. I did get a mention from an email from my finance company that told me my car payment was going to be late in 3 days.
Yeah.
And I did get the nerve up to ask this lady out for a date, but she already had got a boyfriend. So things are not going exactly like I had planned. But
if we can get some of the books sold, things will be looking up for you. Talk about your writing process that you have developed. You said you enjoy it. You have fun when you write. What is your process? Do you lock yourself in a room? Do you go away to a cabin, or do you work on it all at once, or is it a long, drawn-out process?
I have a desktop computer that I write in with the same chair, with pillows on them, and I have to be positioned in the right place, and I have to have my little dog in my lap, and do it with one hand.
Wow.
And unfortunately, my little dog passed away, but it wouldn't. But I wrote that whole book, Jesse, with that little dog in my lap and pecking away on. And I would write. I would discipline myself because Stephen King always said that he would make himself write 1,500 words a day. Well, not exactly that way, but I would make myself write. And once I got started, I would love it, and it would come to me. But sometimes I would have to say, look, you're not getting any younger. Your window is closing. Let's get in here and get it. So I'm talking about for the books after Jesse mostly. Yeah. And I've gotten 5 of them done besides Jesse. No, 4 done, and I'm working on a 5th one now.
Wow. Yeah. Any topics you want to share there and tease those a little bit?
Well, the 3rd one, I've told you about Gabe, the 2nd one. The 3rd one is a love story. It's called Nevertheless Goodbye. And it's a weird love story like I'd write. And the one after that is called Algernon Trimble, and it's a carryover of the character in Nevertheless Goodbye carries over into this book, and he becomes like a televangelist. He has an event that happens in the other book that changes his thought processes, and he goes on Bill Maher show.
Yeah.
And or Bill Maher sees him, he's getting real popular, and invites him on and ambushes him with some other atheists on there. And he gets so frustrated, he pulls a marble out, and he slams it on that desk of his, and he says, a week from now, I'm going to ask every Christian across the whole globe to pray on this show, and that marble's going to roll across this desk. And that's what this story is about. And the one after that is a science fiction book called CATS, and that stands for Compressed Air Transport System. It's a science fiction book. It's my vision of what transportation is going to be like in the future.
Yeah.
We won't be flying around in vehicles like the Jetsons. We'll be underground, being sucked through with air.
Like the thing at the bank.
That's where I got the idea for CATS. Is when I sent some money to them in one of those tubes. Yeah. And it's science fiction, and it's also Christian based, but that's that book.
That's interesting. Science fiction's right up my alley, so I'll be looking forward to that.
I'm going to send you that one.
Do that. I'd like to read that.
Unedited.
Raw.
Yeah. Grammatical mistakes and all, but I'm going to send it to you and see what you think about it.
All right. That sounds good. Well, let's take another commercial break. We'll come back and wrap things up in just a moment, so hang out with us.
Baker Piano and Music Company, in our 53rd year of service to you. Baker Piano and Music continues its tradition of excellent service and affordable prices. Baker stocks a wide variety of new and used upright and grand pianos. Find a large selection of electronic keyboards, guitars, and amps. Also take piano and guitar lessons. Baker Piano and Music, 211 Broad Street in downtown Gadsden. Call 256-546-4038. Find us on Facebook or visit GeraldBakerMusic.com.
Well, time to wrap things up already. Our guest today has been Glen Allen Burke of Collinsville, the author of the book Jesse that we've been talking about. I have read this book myself. Very good book. You'll enjoy it. So you need to pick up a copy of it at barnesandnoble.com, booksamillion.com, amazon.com. You can get a hard copy, or you can get a Kindle or Nook download. And you can check out Glen's website at glenallenburke.com for more information about Glen. And are you available for speaking engagements, book signings, things like that?
Anything from a three-member book club to the General Assembly of the United Nations. I'm ready and available.
Yeah, whenever you're ready to go whenever you're needed.
On the spot.
Absolutely. Well, Glen, thank you so much for being with us on the program. We'll have you back again to talk about your other books some more. And folks, we want to thank you for being with us here on East Alabama Today. Go by and pick up a copy of Glen's book, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for joining us.